Hey guys, welcome in. It's the final version of the Coach Moore Show for this season. Coach Moore, you're joining me today on first time this year we're talking about a loss, and it just happened to be a loss that makes us where we're not playing anymore. So
Yeah,
what can we say today?
well, I mean, we're disappointed in the way that we played, disappointed in the way that we performed right here in a big moment. We had some things happen that haven't happened, and it required that to beat us. I mean, it required special teams miscues and things like that. And so the game itself is a small data point. It's an outlier of a trend that's been really good this year. Right. But I mean, you can be disappointed, but also thankful. For a great year. For kids that battled and kids that really in the last 2 years have put Jasper back in the state's view. At one point Jasper was an afterthought, right. And that's not the case. And so, again, there are no moral victories here. We don't have to have moral victories. We expect to win every week. We're disappointed that we didn't. There are a lot of hurting, people. But again, you have to play extremely well. You have to continue to grow, and we didn't. I don't know. Again, it was a frustrating night, but one that, as you look back on the entirety of really the last 2 seasons, you have to be proud of, what those seniors have done. There were 17 of them that are special kids, have made, growth in their lives. I mean, they're not just football players; they're good people, and I'm proud of them overall. But again, we're disappointed in the way that it turned out.
Well, let's talk about Friday night, and then we'll talk about the season as a whole. Friday, you guys came out, scored on the first drive, even though it still wasn't crisp because you had that pick six that was called back.
Right.
But then after that, offense just couldn't get going. The defense kept you in the game.
They did.
And special teams basically gave it away.
Right. Well, and that's all true. I mean, our defense fought their tails off, the whole night. I mean, Coach Butler and those guys were put in really bad spots. From a field position standpoint, I think they started 4 drives inside our 40, right. At least. I mean, it was I don't know, just disappointing things that guys haven't done all year. We didn't field a punt, we didn't punt one. I don't know. I'm at a loss on some of those, and but other things. I mean, offensively, we threw an interception, 2 that gave them really good field position. Our defense held in there off some turnovers and some bad spots, and again gave us a chance. We had the drive in the fourth quarter that got inside the 10. That we didn't finish. We had a holding call that really hurt us because they're so good defensively. You can't be behind the sticks. Right. And the fact that JC wasn't 100% was really tough. But again, we have to overcome those things. That's our job, and we didn't. And we weren't really sharp. I thought we lost up front for the first time this year. We had a couple of 4th and 1s we didn't convert. Right. That really, really hurt us the first drive of the second half. We had a 4th and 1 we didn't convert. That hasn't happened. Even against them, the first time it didn't happen. And you have to give them credit, though. They came out and fought, and that was a game that they really wanted. And I don't think we matched them as far as intensity. And that's my job. My job is to make sure I set the tone of the team, and I didn't do a very good job of it. Right. And so, we'll have to go back to work and figure it out, how to finish. We've had 2 really good years. But we've got to finish in the playoffs, and that's something that we'll continue to search and try and figure out how to do.
For people who haven't watched a lot of high school football this season, those 2 teams playing each other on Friday night could be either one of you guys could have gone on to win a state championship after that game.
Well, and that's kind of where you get, I think this is the 3rd team in 15 years of coaching that I've been a part of that had a real shot to do it. And it's really hard. I mean, people need to understand that it's really difficult to get to the big game. And you have to have some things go your way. And Friday, none of those things did, not right. One thing. And it requires that because those teams, we knew it in the first game, in a double overtime game. The 2 teams are very, very even. And we had to play really, really well, and we didn't. And again, the bright spot is that our defense kept us in it and gave us a chance. Even down 20-7, we get it inside the 10, and if we finish that, then we've got a chance. We're down by less, we're down by 6 points now. But we didn't do it. And again, that sometimes I think one game can overshadow a year, but I don't want it to. The kids fought and did everything we asked them to do. Like I said, we'll just have to figure out how to finish going forward.
Well, and let's talk about the year as a whole. This group, you really didn't know what to expect coming into the season as far as leadership and things like that. and they really showed up and grew into pretty good leaders throughout the year.
Well, I didn't know what they would do. I didn't know as far as our leadership. I mentioned that right after the game and stand by that. 6 months ago, we had no leaders. We didn't have any kids that had the lead because of the previous senior class. All those guys were.
Right.
You had a lot of leaders in that class, good kids that led by example and fought and really turned the program around. And then it was the job of this team to continue that. But then after the Coleman win and for the first time in 10 years, and after some big wins early in region play and a string of 3 games where we really blew everybody out. We were hopeful, and then we went to Central Clay and won that game in double overtime, and I thought, this team's got a chance. And they did. They still had a chance to the end. And, it wasn't from a lack of effort or desire to be successful. Again, you have a night that doesn't go your way. But those kids developed. I mean, they fought their guts out Friday night. They played hard. Again, we just didn't execute at a high level, and you have to. That defense is as good as any. They're really, really talented. A couple of those linebackers and that D lineman are really, really talented, and we had a hard time blocking them. And again, but overall, proud of the kids and proud of the senior class and their accomplishments so far.
How many or what seniors do you have that you think may end up signing?
Well, we have 2 with offers. Sheldrick Cherry has an offer from Faulkner, as does Braxton Bridges. We're hopeful that more will. That's kind of where we go now. Our focus for the senior class turns to their grades, their ACT scores, and then sending their film out. We'll send their film out to as many people as we can. The recruiting will pick up as far as people coming by to visit, and I'll go to some recruiting fairs and things like that to try and help them get recruited. I think that's the next step for us, as a program, is to get more kids signed. I was discouraged a little bit last year by us only having, really Mike and Russ, that really signed, and I think that, we've got to pick that up. I think there's as many as a handful of kids that can play college football.
Right.
I'm not sure that we have any. I don't think we have any SEC kids, and I don't think we have any, Division I players. But I think we've got a lot of kids that can play in that Division II, FCS type range, and we're hopeful to get those guys signed. And ultimately, our job is to make them better people. And this is a step along the way to helping them better their lives, right? I mean, a college education, puts you in a different category financially.
Right.
And so that's kind of where we are. Coach Bailey helps me with that, as do all their position coaches. I mean, we, having Darius Gilbert playing at Alabama and his network, and also Prothro playing at Alabama and his network, and some other guys that played, we're really going to try and reach out to all of our contacts and help those kids get signed, and we'll do our best to get that done. But that's the next step for us right now. That's kind of where we are now.
And where do you go today as a team? We're doing this interview on Monday. I'm sure you meet with the team today and kind of talk about the way things have gone on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big, I don't know, I'm a closure. Now let's move on. Celebrate, those seniors. But at the same time, we have another football year coming up and a new team and new leadership, and those juniors basically today will become seniors in football. That's the way it works. And we'll have our banquet. We're not set, but we'll have it before Christmas, and celebrate again the success of those guys and send them out the right way, because that's what I always say. The banquets and those things are about our senior class.
Right.
And then we'll get back to work. We'll take this week off as far as lifting, because we've got a lot of nags and bruises and things that need to be, healed up. And we'll take the week to do that, and then we'll go through Thanksgiving, and that'll give them another week, and then we'll be right back to it, in December. So that's kind of where we'll focus. But our grades have been a point of emphasis. We had 40 guys with A's and B's this time out of 70. That's pretty special.
Yeah.
And so we hope to continue that and finish that. Miss Lee Evans has done a really good job of helping us with that. But that's where our focus is now. And then really starting in January, it'll be, heavy lifting. We'll hopeful to recruit some guys from our school to come out, some guys walking the halls that haven't been out. There's a couple of kids that we really need to play.
Right.
And so we'll try and get them out. And I think our success will help with that. It's been, again, we played 15 home games in 2 years. We played 5 playoff games right over here, in our stadium. And those kinds of things are encouraging. The turf and the Jumbotron and all those kinds of things will make us attractive to the kids in our halls. And Hopefully we'll get some more out because there are some that can help.
Right.
We'll send some guys to secondary sports, and they'll go, and the basketball team I think plays tonight against West Point here. They probably won't play in this game, but soon. They'll need them to get going. Wrestlers will go. Baseball guys will get started, getting prepared for their season. We have a lot of 2-3 sport kids.
Yeah.
Guys like Caden Shelton and Parker Sawyer, and those guys will go and play their other sports, and we'll cheer like heck for them, just like they did for us. But again, I don't want to, move them out the door too quickly. We have to finish and help them get where they want to go. I'll meet with each senior individually, ask them what their goals are, what they want to do, if they want a chance to play. Now, not all of them will want to play.
Right.
Some are ready to be students.
Yeah.
Like C.R. Wallace, for example, he probably could play something, but he's wanting to go to Auburn and get into some sort of coaching, possibly do something with Auburn University and their program. And so we want to do that with those kids. We want to help them, whatever it is that they want to do. That's our job, is to finish that and help them with that, and we'll do that over the next few weeks.
How about looking to next year? What's the future look like for the Vikings?
Well, I think it's always bright. I mean, I think, it's going to hurt us losing some of these guys. Guys like Caden Shelton and those guys have been 3-year starters. Burt. I mean, those guys are hard to replace.
Yeah.
But we'll look to, to some young guys to step up. We've got some guys that have the ability. This year, having played those young guys so much, we've been able to get game film. I think we're further along. If we were to do a depth chart today, which we do as coaches, we obsess about those depth charts
right.
and players, because ultimately, you got to have players. I don't care how good of a coach you are or whatever, you have to have players that are capable of executing what you need. And so we'll start putting a depth chart probably today of here are the guys, and here are the holes, and do we need to move people from defense to offense or vice versa to fill those holes? What do we need to do? We always think about that, but that'll be the next step, and that's exciting. It is exciting and refreshing. As bad as today and this weekend feel, and have felt. The optimism about next year is always there.
Right.
I'm always like that, being optimistic, and again, just building on the success that we've already had.
Anything you just want to say to the community for the support this year?
Well, it's been incredible. I think, now, first off, I want them to know that we're devastated. This was not the goal.
Right.
The goal is not to win 11 games. I'm proud of that. I think it's the 6th time in school history that it's been done, 2 of which have been by us, in the last 2 years. But I'm proud of that, but that's not the end goal. We've got to figure out a way how to finish. I don't know. We've won a lot of games over the 2 years, but we've got to go deeper in the playoffs. We've got to give our kids a better chance, and we'll look real hard at us. I'll do coaching evaluations and evaluate myself. I ask the coaches to evaluate me as well. And I think if you want to grow in your profession, you need to be willing and be man enough to do that.
Right.
To step up and say, what do I need to do better leading this program?
Right.
I'm going to ask our administration. I'm going to ask Dr. Jackson and Mr. Allen and Jonathan Jordan, what do I need to do better? Because I think we all have to do that. It's not fun hearing it. It's not fun to hear the negatives about yourself, but we need to do that. So our first step, is to look at us, and I've got to do a better job being the head coach here. Again, that's not the end goal. Winning 2 region championships is not the end goal. The end goal is the one in Auburn or Alabama, there in early December. That's the goal.
Right.
And that's okay to say. That's okay to say. And I'm disappointed that we didn't get there. And I feel like that we should have, to be frank. I feel like we should have, and I've got to figure out how to get us there. But this community has been so supportive, both of our players, our program, also my family. I've said that a bunch of times. We want to be here. We love Jasper. We love this community. We love how tight it feels now. I can tell you this, the feelings are different now than they were when we got here.
Right.
As far as the community and how they've rallied behind, I don't know how many people we had here Friday night, but our gate was huge. Yeah. That's a good indicator of where we're, again, it's hard to count them all.
Well, it was an incredible crowd because you had the whole home side was full, and then there were people from Jasper sitting on the visitor side because they couldn't fit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's been that way all year.
Yeah.
The only game that really wasn't packed was Lawrence County, but it rained.
Yeah.
The rest of the games have been jam-packed. We've had the biggest gates ever here, probably in our school's history this year. It's just been a great year, and I appreciate the support so much. I got a text from the mayor. I get texts from all kinds of people, and every one of them, the biggest thing I take from it is, my first comment here, and you guys covered it, was, there are two things that we got to look at is our purpose and our goals. Our purpose is to make them good people. Our purpose is to pour in the lives and build relationships with kids. Our goals are to win games and to win championships. And every person that has commented to me, it's all been purpose driven, and that's what I want. Yes, I want that, man. I want to win in December. We all do, and we feel like we fell short. But ultimately, I had those seniors stand up in the middle of that huddle at the end, and those 17 guys are better people because our community poured into them, our coaching staff poured into them, and that's what it's really about. I can put my name on those kids and send them out into the world and say, I think they're prepared. They're going to make mistakes along the way, but the development, it's hard to measure the development of guys like Sheldrick Cherry and how far he's come. And Kentavious Catlin and all those guys that got involved, our offensive linemen, the guys that weren't starters and hung in there, and like 3 of them started for the first time this year,
right.
and are just, I don't know, I'm just overwhelmed by their growth. And again, overwhelmed by the support of our community in helping with that.
Right. Well, I didn't send you a text over the weekend. I was just going to let you mourn. I think I
appreciate
told you a
it.
good job after
You
the
did.
game.
You did.
But I do want to say that I appreciate everything you do for the community and the involvement that you have and the way that you guys have just jumped in here. It's a breath of fresh air that you don't see from a lot of high school football coaches. And I have a kid on the team, and you guys do an incredible job, you and every one of the coaches, of pouring into those kids. And people who are not just involved in the program don't see how much goes into it and how much time you guys spend with the kids on the team. And it's a great thing that you guys do.
Well, I appreciate that. And thank you guys for the coverage. I mean, part of the reason that we were seen the way that we were in Jasper was on AL.com every week and, ranked number 1 for however long or whatever. A lot of that has to do with you guys.
Right.
And the coverage and what the state sees. So, again, I thank you guys. Thank you, James, for everything. And, all the guys at the radio station and TV16 and everybody. It's an incredible year, and it's incredible to see it kind of all come together in the way that it goes on every Friday. So thank you guys.
Right. Well, Coach, I hate that we're talking today about the end of the year. I was hoping we'd have a few more games and be in Auburn, but great season.
Appreciate it.
And I think we've got several more ahead of us for sure.
For sure.
All right.
Thank you, James.
Guys, thanks for tuning in this year. We appreciate you listening each week and watching the Coach Moore Show. We'll be back next year for sure, and hopefully we'll be talking about winning a state championship again next season as well. See you guys later.